Our guest today is John Cachia, founder of Thriving Wealth, previously known as AFA Group. John has a list of awards longer than my surname and is recognised as one of the leading financial advisors in Australia. John has been in business from a young age, but his business truly grew when he took a step back and put himself in his client's shoes. Listen to hear John's journey and how he plans to disrupt an industry. Welcome to The Leap, a business journeys podcast where we dive deep into the journey of business owners to learn from their successes and failures. Our goal is a simple one: to help more businesses succeed. John, welcome to the show, mate.
Thanks for having me.
How does it feel sitting on the opposite side, being interviewed as opposed to interviewing other people?
Feels cool being in this setup. I'm a bit envious, Nate. I think I need to upgrade. Yeah. So but it's really cool. Like, obviously having the opportunity to jump on your podcast and share my story. It's actually very humbling, because for me, I don't wake up every day and think, oh, I've got an amazing story or I've got something to share. It's only when, I speak to someone like yourself and you're like, John, I need you to get you on the podcast, share your story. A lot of people will learn that, you kind of get those little bit of butterflies and you're like, it has been quite a journey. But
imagine for me being a listener of your podcast and then to get you to having you on.
Thanks, mate. Well, I'm glad you're a listener, and, I hope you don't mind, but, for people that want to get into finance, the thing about it is I'm really there about just trying to help people. And so, the more people that I can help on their journey in finance, the better. So, to hear from you and hear from many others that are listening to the podcast, all the effort and all the pre-production and post-production and all the, the time, money that's put into the podcast to deliver it, it makes it all worth it. So let's get going with it.
I love it, man. So, one thing that where I probably want to start is for me, my journey into, I was always going to be in business, right? I was always doing little ventures and hustling in eBay stores and online things I was playing around with when I was, even in high school, uni, I was always going to do something, had no idea what, right? But that stemmed from childhood. It was my dad who was self-employed, and obviously that's who you look up to, right? How did your journey start? Were you always that way inclined? Were you always going to do something?
Yeah, so I think if you look at me as just outside of business, I've always been a leader. Even from the earliest moments, my mother would tell me stories where she'd rock up to the kinder and I'd have the book and I'd be reading to all the classroom, and it'd be like, the teacher's not doing the job, it's John. And so I know you know me and you can see that naturally coming out of me, but that was the same on the footy field. That was the same in everything I did. I remember going to school camps, and we would go on a hike, and I would be like, give me the compass, I'll show you where you need to go. So I was always one to go on the lead.
Did everyone get lost when you took that compass?
No, it was actually, we were lost, and I'm like, I'm sick of this dude leading us in circles. Just give me. I wasn't the nominated captain to do it. I just forced it away. But that's who I am. So for example, I often say to people, in a normal kind of footy game or whatever sport we're playing, in the normal sport, I'm horrible. But if the siren goes and someone needs to kick the goal after the siren, give the ball to John. I've just always been like that, just super focused in the really high tense moments. And I've always been the one to be like, how can I put this? If we're going to fail, I'll fail first. So if you think about that, my dad used to say, John, you're a natural born leader. And he was in business and he was entrepreneurial. So then you take that to very early on. My dad was always in business. He had a very successful business in the 90s, which essentially went belly up. And I was exposed to the great heights of what business does and then the great failures in my early childhood. And I'm talking when I'm 5, 6 years old. Okay. And if you look at, which I love history, you look at history and they say that the up into 7, what you put into your children, they will hold forever. And so at 5, 6, 7 years old, I was just getting downloaded all of this information from my dad's successes and failures and how to be a great businessman, and it stayed with me. And so I then developed a really good work ethic to then apply, which comes from my mother. So my mother is So we're Maltese. We were bombed by the Nazis for 4 years straight, left Malta, kind of came over here. They have us, and it was just work, like outwork everyone. Work. My dad's PS, a boxer coming from like military family, so just outwork everyone. And so when you apply outworking, leadership, and like putting everyone on your back, you asked me the question. Yes, it's always been there. And so I find myself a 14-year-old, and 14 and 9 months, got to get your first job. Yeah, work hard. And so my cousin was working in financial planning at the time, still does actually. And my dad's like, time to get a job. And so I went to go work for my cousin's financial advisory business and loved it. I'm like, how cool is this? This guy's rocking up in like the brand newest cars. He's got a Rollie on his arm. Like, this is
I don't think I knew what a Rolex was at 15.
Like, I'm 14 and like we're getting taken to like the best of the best. Like, it was epic. I'm like, this is a life that like in today's world, not back then because Instagram and stuff wasn't available. Like, I got thrown into like this wealth world and I'm just like, whoa.
Was it what you saw in that business, or as well as like the clients that you were exposed to and seeing some of the big numbers from clients?
Both. I was just like, whoa, like look at the numbers. I still remember looking at like my first insurance claim check, and they say it stays with you forever. And this is like a life insurance claim, so it's a very morbid, but as a young kid, and I'm looking at the zeros, and I remember just looking at myself going like, and because you don't know what I'm young, 14, remember, I'm looking at this going, oh my gosh, like how many supercars can I buy with this thing?
Yeah.
So like I got thrown in for like the reasons of just wealth, and then it just consumed me. However, because of the ethical compass I quickly grew out of that to like understand the impact and why and what you can do. And so I went on this journey through my teenage years about getting rid of that materialistic kind of focus. And I remember being 20 years of age and speaking to my cousin, and you always have regrets, you always have mistakes. And I remember telling my cousin to go get Well and Truly and storming out of his office, telling you, F you, this, that. And I said, stuff it, I'm going to get out of wealth completely. And the reason why was because I thought that I could do things better than him. However, what it really was I started to find myself. Mm-hmm. And what I found in myself was, though I went into wealth to create wealth for myself, very selfish, but 14-year-old male full of testosterone at the time.
I think it's why most people get in business though, right?
Let's be honest.
Yeah.
At 20, it was like, nah, I can do this better.
At 20?
At 20, I can do this better. And
at that point, were you actually an advisor at 20 already, or were you still sort of paraplanning?
Well, I was leading a team of about 8 at that point. I can't remember if I was licensed because it was a bit grey back then. I don't know if I was licensed or I was working like as an associate advisor under his license. For all intensive purposes, we were doing life insurance and rolling over people's superannuation funds. It was very, very basic as advice, yeah. And so...
And this was when they were paying 125% up fronts and big dollars.
The gravy train. It was literally a gravy. And that's why all the regulation came in, because it was just... Anyway.
Yeah.
But I took a break. I remember I stopped working in my cousin's business. I said, stuff this. I'm getting out of wealth completely. I just needed a gap. Yeah, I just needed a gap. And to be honest with you, I never thought I'd go back to wealth. I said, it's just disgusting. It's not what I want to do. And I got out of it. And my dad at the time was selling hoses and fittings to mechanics. Okay. So like totally different. And I'm like, Dad, I'll give you a hand. Don't pay me. I'll give you a hand. He goes, all right. He goes, whatever you sell, he goes, we'll split. So if you go get new mechanic shops, go. Mate, I made my dad that busy in about 6 months. Yeah. We had to set up a whole van. Like it was insane. Yeah. We went around. My dad's loving it. Yeah. Anyway, I get a phone call from a guy who helped me like with a lot of my learning. And I do admit, like my cousin gave me heaps of learning. And to be honest with you, some of the investment that he did with me back then as a wealth advisor put me in such good stead today. Anyway, one of the guys who was a big mentor for me early on in my early days calls me. And he's like, I can't let you leave the wealth game. Like, we have put that much into you. Like, you are an absolute superstar. We just can't let you leave. And I'm like, nah, I'm not going back. I'm not going to go. He goes through this. He's like, how about I just give you your own license for your own practice? And I'm like, what? And just so you understand, 20 years old, having a financial planning practice license was like unheard of. And I'll tell you, as far as I know, I don't think, and you're in the game as well too, I don't think I've ever known of a 20-year-old with a financial planning business license.
Well, it'd be impossible
today. Now it's impossible.
Yeah, you wouldn't have been able to finish your degree in time and
correct. So
professional year. So yeah,
I'm like, you know what? Let's do this. And so, as your podcast is, I took the leap. So there we go. That's how it started.
So, like, that's crazy, right? So, I mean, at that point, usually when you look at someone who's made a transition, made a leap, like, you know, I think it's easy enough in, you know, financial services, let's say, as an example, in financial planning, you've built out a referral network, you've got repeat business, and, you know, you can sort of feel comfortable knowing that these people are going to come with you and you can go out on your own. But going out when you don't have a clientele, a client base, a referral network, like day one, you rock up to an office, like what is it? Like, what does day one look like?
Very good. I remember when I decided to do it, my dad gave me a piece of advice that holds me through today. It came actually from my grandmother, and God bless her soul. He said, "You're born naked, John, you'll die naked. Everything in between is just fun and games." Okay?
Love that.
And so I said, you know what? Let's just take that and run with it. So this is what happens. I literally set up. By that time, my sister is out of my parents' house. So I'm still at home, yeah. You got to remember, like, I'm still with mum and dad, yeah. Sister's out. I've converted my dad's semi-office into like a proper office, and I would literally just go into the office and think about, okay, well, what am I going to do? How am I going to game plan this? Now, for those who know me, I can talk underwater, which helps immensely. So essentially what I did, and remember, I'm 20, I've got a lot of connections through social networks, yeah. I just literally buzzed everyone, every single person. Some people would give me their time, some people wouldn't. Some people would take me for a ride, some people wouldn't. A lot of people would say to me, as a 20-year-old, no one's going to take you seriously with their money. Cool. The more they would say to me, this is not going to work, the more I would go harder. Because you've got to remember, that's like me as the boxing family getting knocked down, get back up, go harder. And so it just kept coming and coming. And so they had this little network, which was like the Young Financial Advisor Network, they used to call it. Anyway, we get to this room, and I remember there's about 20 young advisors around this room, and they're going through and they're asking, so how many new prospects you got? And they're going around the room as 3, 2, 5. They got to me, and I was like, I'm shocked by these numbers. I'm like, seriously? I think I was like at like 38. And I'm not talking about names on a list. I'm talking about like actually people that are signing up to become clients. Like I was so far ahead on like the networking side that I then got the confidence to say, you know what? I can take a real serious crack. However, you're 21 at this point and you're earning good dough. I'm partying.
So let's say, is this you know, how far into the
6
piece?
months.
So 6 months in, and
so I'm starting to make clients.
You've got like
to get
30
bank.
clients. Okay, yeah.
I've got no responsibilities. I have no bills. I have no debt. I haven't bought a book. I'm just cream in the pocket.
Yeah,
mate. I am going to Vegas and I'm going hard. Yeah, so I did.
Yeah.
I went to MTV Spring Break, I think twice. Yeah. I would go to Europe, but I remember my brother calling me. He was in Rome. His mates left, and he just calls me, and he's just like, John, you want to come to Europe? And I'm like, yeah, why not? Let's just go. And bang, I just fly to Europe and just party it up. So I stayed like that until I met my wife, which was about, to think about.
So this was, you were
2021.
2021.
2021.
When did you meet your wife?
And I'm piss farting around, partying it up, enjoying it. And then I get back. And for those in Melbourne, I was at the Anglers, okay? And I bump into this girl and I'm like, she's not bad, yeah, as you do. Anyway, we go after anglers and I start talking to her and I literally go, oh my gosh, I've just found the girl of my dreams. Smart, good looking, absolutely everything. I need to change my ways. And so I did, man. She actually absolutely changed my ways. And from about, this is 21, 22, 22, I think I was. Yeah, 22. And then I focused on her. And what happened was that the business grew, but it grew. I always say to people, like in the first year, you grow a lot and then you get into operational mode. Then you've got to service your clients that you currently got. It's like if you get on heaps of customers and you're delivering a product, well, you've got to continue to deliver that product.
Exactly.
So I had the operational phase for about 3 or 4 years, and then the regulation started.
Mm-hmm. So you're still first, how far into the business did you meet your
wife? So
yeah.
2-3 years in, so very early.
Yeah.
So I've got business, new, and so I'm got to remember up until that point, like it's all business party, and then now it's like, nah, you want to create a solid future because deep down I am a family man. I always have been.
Yeah.
So it just was changing that focus in regards to now business and future with that woman.
Yeah. So year 1, year 2, obviously there was that growth. You
Yeah.
brought on these initial clients, and then was it relatively steady from like a revenue perspective?
Revenue.
Because you're at probably capacity, right, with what you
Correct.
could service.
And I was self-employed. I wasn't a business.
Mm-hmm. And what from your definition, what does that mean?
Self-employed means you've got a business that keeps you in the job you want,
mm-hmm.
but it dies with you.
Yeah.
And there's no real business around that. It's around literally I could have just left what I did, go work for a bank and probably earned the same amount of money. Mm-hmm. Less risk, whatever. Yes, I'm building this asset but it changed. And so fast forward 2013, I think 2012, 2013, things started to change in the finance game. This is when you're talking about raw commissions, both like regulations, not to get into but a ton of regulation.
At a high level, what did it do to the industry? What did it mean for your business?
Well, they came in essentially saying, like, everything you've done up until now, we're going to make 10 times harder, to the point where, just so we can understand, that point, there was about 28,000 financial advisors. Today, there's about 13,000. So it just like decimated. Essentially, they came in saying that everyone has to have a degree standard to enter in. They have to do like supervisory, all of these extra paperwork that comes involved, to the point where right now in 2024, they're now going through a review to kind of simplify the process because there's just so much over-regulation.
Was that change in 2013, was that bigger than, all of the recent things with Phasia that came into play?
All of that stuff that happened, so 2013, they brought in, I'm pretty sure they brought in what they call FOFA, which was FDSs, which was a fee consent form, like all of this paperwork. So what I'm saying is 2012-13 was the start of this avalanche that was about to come. Mm-hmm. And so it started with just this more regulation, and it was just once again, punch, get back up, punch, get back up, punch, get back up. Then fast forward. So just think about it right now. I've got 2 or 3 employees. We're quite stagnant.
How far in did you hire your first?
Yeah, that's a good one actually. 2010 it actually was. So 1 year in, I hired a part-time assistant, mm-hmm. just a mum that I knew, and she chipped in. But it was a chip in. It wasn't anything formal. I think I got my first formal kind of employee about 2012-ish. Yeah, so about maybe 3 years in, I got my first one. And then I stayed with that same kind of group of 3 employees. So I hired roughly around there, and I stayed with them for around till about 2018. So about 5 years.
So how long? And that's in total, what, 8, 9?
So I'm 7 years in at this point.
7 years in. Yeah, 3
So 7 years in. And
so there wasn't really a heap of growth in the first 7 years of being in business.
But back then I thought it was but it's like, yeah, it's just in hindsight you look at it. You back then I was like, no, we're growing good, yeah, but you don't know what you don't know. There was a few game changes that were about to happen that I didn't know, and this is where it took me personally to a whole nother level and took the business with it to a whole nother level. So in 2000 17, I get invited to go to Stanford University over in America. And I knocked them back. I said, no, I'm not going. And it was silly. I was just stupid. I should have gone. However, December 2016, my first boy is born. And so as a family man, it was my son. Everything else is secondary. And it's still the case now. So I didn't go. 2018. Actually, I got my numbers. No, so yes. 2016, I get invited to go to 17. 17, I get invited to go to 18 again. They invited me a second time. Now, they don't invite people a second time.
What is it?
So I go to Stanford for a strategic leadership course, okay? Now, what they've done is the best financial advisors and mortgage brokers in the country, they invite a select group each year to go over to Stanford and go for like whatever it was. I think it was like a week or 10 days or whatever it is. And they jam-pack essentially a Stanford MBA into like 10 days. And so I'm learning from the likes of like Bill Barnett, who's like a consultant to like IBM, Gates, Musk. And I tell you, I remember, besides my kid at that point, I'm like, this is the happiest I've ever been. Like I am like a kid at a candy store and I'm addicted to learning. However, they allowed my mind to stretch so much out of my comfort zone that for the first time in reflection, I was looking at the business rather than being in the business. And I remember saying to myself, like, light bulbs are going off everywhere, but I'm like, John, you have spent the last 7 years creating a nothing. Yeah?
How did it feel?
Initially, it felt like, those 1 a.m s, those 6 a.m. starts, those 1 a.m. finishes, like, something's got to change. And I never ever
do you think it would have changed if you didn't have that light bulb moment and that moment of exposure in that setting?
I don't know, but life was about to get a whole lot worse for me. So I don't know if that was the sole reason, but it was definitely the light bulb. It was the one where I first had proper overarching awareness of what's going on in the business.
So the light bulb was, I'm working in the business, not on it.
On it, and I could see the faults.
Okay.
So you can see everyone knows.
What were they?
So the way that we were presenting the value to the client was very amateur. That business had no competitive advantage about anyone else. Everyone was doing the exact same thing.
Okay.
Still to the point right now that majority of financial planners and financial advisors still don't have a competitive advantage. They're still doing the same thing. So when I look in hindsight for the business that Thriving Wealth is today, decisions were made then for now. Okay. So in this 10 days, we go over to Salesforce. And you got to remember, I'm with other financial advisors. These guys could have got the same light bulbs, but some of them haven't, obviously. We go over to Stanford. We go over to Salesforce, okay? So we're over in Salesforce, and they've got, I think it's like the chief technology officer up. And he goes and he gets this big screen. I'll never forget it. And he's like, okay, these are all the jobs that are going to be obsolete by, I think it was like 2040 or whatever it was. Financial advisor, accountant, lawyer, mortgage broker, and everyone's in the room going, like,
thanks for bringing us in.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Yeah.
And he's like, back then, he's like, we have Einstein in our CRM. That's a data analyzing everything. We're going to start doing these behaviors. He's already starting to talk what likes of like Tesla's already doing, what Amazon's already doing, and where the world is going. Okay. And he's talking at that point around algorithms. He was talking back then about like going into shopping centers. They know that you've previously bought a red dress, for example. So you might like these shoes that match with the dress. And so all of a sudden you're seeing these marketing coming up. Little did he know that could be now done on a phone, and like, but he thought it was in a shopping center. So he's thereabouts. Yeah. And it's not to say that he's not right. We'll go into shopping centers. Anyway, so I'm sitting there going, oh my gosh, I've just dedicated my whole life to this thing and I'm about to get obsolete. Lucky I was listening. because he said, these jobs will become obsolete in the way that they are right now. If you learn to become an EQ business, not an IQ business, and use technology side by side with you, you'll go the other way, essentially. And so I came back with all of these ideas about how I can get EQ into my business, how can I become better, blah, blah. And I just paused for a second and said, like, you know that guy who was pretty much a salesman at 20? That was all EQ. That wasn't IQ. That was all EQ.
Yeah.
So I've got to go back to what I learned originally and double down on it and just take it at a whole nother level. And so this is where I started to speaking to neuroscientists about how people interact with money and what the wires look like behind the, in the brain in regards to money, speaking to psychologists around their behavior, studying behavioral finance, and then speaking to teachers about how to educate people, and then trying to just infuse the whole business into EQ stuff.
Wow.
Then my back goes. And what I mean by that, Nate, is I'm doing 1 a.m.s. I'm trying to provide for my young family. And get home one day and we have a card game at my place. And I never have a card game, but we decided to have a card game at my place. Anyway, sitting at the chair playing cards, and I'm just like, I can't get up, boys. And they're like, what are you on about? I'm like, I can't get up. Like, I'm in serious situation right now. Anyway, kept drinking, as you do when you're playing poker, and the pain went away. Went inside, and I said to my wife, I'm like, babe, I know I'm half drunk at the point. I said, but I'm in real back pain. I'm just going to lie on the couch. Anyway, lie on the couch, wake up in the morning, and my wife goes to me, your son's awake, come get him. Yeah. And I couldn't get up. I rolled off the couch and was just in this excruciating pain. Lo and behold, ambos come, go through the whole process, not to fast forward it, but I then at 28, I have just exploded my L4, L5. So my L4, L5 disc
From sitting
has literally exploded. So what we ended up finding out later, Nath, was that I had most likely a disc bulge, that wasn't hitting a nerve. So I couldn't feel the pain. And what's happened is that bulge has got bigger, and because I wasn't looking after myself, I was just working at the desk, not, whatever. And bang, it goes. And so this is at the same time when I'm having all of these epiphanies in the business, and my back goes. And I've got this young kid, think about it, like, you're starting a young family, debt, you've got mortgage. I'm under more stress than ever. My mental health is like at its lowest it's ever been. And I'm like, and I remember being in Epworth rehab after my surgery, and I'm thinking, like, what am I going to do, man? I'm sitting under the, in rehab, just thinking to myself, like, what am I going to do? And I said, I've been at this for too long. You remember, I started when I was 14, even though I started the business when I'm 20. I'm 14, I'm 28 now, 14 years in, yeah? I'm like, every action I do today needs to make me redundant.
I love that. How did it change your values and your mission in terms of for your own sense of purpose and accomplishment? So, I mean, a lot of the time, what you're creating is a vehicle for your own life and your own purpose. And I think sometimes those moments make you wake up and go, shit, like, I need to create this so I can spend more time with my family, so I can be a better version of me. Was it also not just a wake up point for the for the business, but also for yourself personally?
Yeah, there was so many silver linings to this, and so it gets me emotional for the fact that, like, it just made me such a better person, like, all round. Like, I became a better business guy because I just solely made myself as redundant as many things as I can. And so that freed me up to work more on the business, which made, the business go to a whole nother level in regards to my ability to then grow the business and then impactfully change the people. Okay. Now, when I'm an advisor and then I'm teaching the people that I'm hiring to become better advisors, I'm teaching the clients how to create their wealth to live a more fulfilled life. I'm not just teaching them how to become wealthy. So there's a difference. I can create plans to make you as rich as hell, but you'll be miserable. So what we do at Thriving Wealth is create plans to help them become financially free, but live a fulfilled life. And so when you're seeing me go on holidays and enjoying my experiences and, just cuddling my little one and having no schedule that I can just schedule, I'm doing that for every single one of my clients. Mm-hmm. So I became a better advisor, a better mentor for my people that I'm mentoring, a better business person, and ultimately became a better husband and a better father.
Love it. So this is circa 2019.
Yes.
Right? And your business is still at...
No one knows me at this point.
Yeah. Okay. So this is what I'm interested to talk about, because you look at... I mean, I knew you before I knew you. Right? There was the branding. There was the face everywhere popping up on socials, the awards, the recognition, right? And that's when I took notice as well. Do you know what I mean? Like 2021, 2022, I reckon you sort of popped up on my radar. And where it's at now, there's obviously, a level of real sophistication. There's clear messaging in terms of what you stand for and how you're different. So, and obviously you were saying like the whole idea was to remove yourself from the business. I want to understand 2019, you come back and you've been basically doing the same thing for 7-8 years, right? What did it actually
practically look like?
Yeah. What were those things you put in place to actually get it to where it is now?
Yeah. So first thing was around stripping it right back to like, okay, cool. What do our clients want? Because I think a business gets into the fashion of we will tell them what they want. Mm-hmm. No.
Is it crazy that you never asked yourself that up until that point?
What do they want? Now, most people want from your business more than you can deliver. But if I could deliver what they want, what would that mean? Mm-hmm. And so when we were speaking to our clients, up until this point, it was more traditional base, which was around creating a financial solution to meet a long-term goal, which was usually retirement. But the goals that they would openly speak about, there was no real strategies. And this is where I talk about traditional financial planning and what Thriving Wealth does. It's like we're not even in most cases, we're not even on the same road, let alone, or not in the same country, let alone the same road. We got to the point where clients openly say to us, I want this for my kids. I want this for my life. This is what I want my life to look like. This is what I want my schedule to look like. Then working with them both on their financial side, but also on their behavioral side to then impact their life. I'm going to give you one yesterday so you can understand practically how this works.
Love these examples.
So this client comes into me saying, we have 3 children. We want to give $200,000 each to each child for their homes. This is the plan that they want to have. So long term, then they want to do this. And then they want to have funds for their weddings, 20 grand each. Nice parents, okay? However, they asked me a question of, you're my advisor, or you're, the leader of the advice group. What would you do? I said, I wouldn't do that. And they're like, I said, well, first and foremost, it took you hard. I think they were worth like 4 mil at this point.
When you say 4 mil, is that
net worth? So properties,
assets.
Stocks, assets, they're worth 4 mil. So they can hand the money if they need to. Yeah. I said, but what's that going to teach your kids? I said, what? I said, well, you can give them 200,000, but how old are your kids? Oh, 20, this, that, cool. All right. So you give them a leg up, you give them a deposit. Cool. Do you reckon that's the hardest stage in their life? No. We saved for a deposit for our house and you did. But what about if we rephrase it? What do you actually want to do? I actually want to make sure that I'm looking after them long term. Cool. All right, what does that mean to you? I just never want them to really worry. Well, they got to worry because they got to learn. Yeah, they got to sacrifice to understand the pain. I said, but what happens when your kids have bought the house? They're swimming in $1.2 million worth of debt. One of them goes down to half pay, the partner, and they're about to have kids. Would it be more fulfilling for you? Because I know your backstory, PS, I've spoken to these clients a few times by the time we get to here.
Yeah.
And I say to them, well, what happens if you came in there and paid for your grandkids' education? Have you thought about it through that angle? And they're like, you could see straight away like a light bulb's gone off. They're like, you know me so well. I'm like, of course you want to do something like that. You just spent all of this money on private school education for your children. And what, you don't want to give the same opportunity to your grandkids? That will also help your children because your children don't need to pay for the education. Imagine not having to pay for education costs and that your grandparents could come in and fund that. And how rewarding would it be for you to know that you provided the education for your grandchildren, not for your children?
But they still get to learn the important lessons of...
And they also learn the important lessons. Oh my goodness. Because we understand them at a whole nother level. Now, the money's the vehicle to enable that to happen. Yes, we use that. But I could have easily said, yep, 200,000, write the check, make that happen. What kind of difference am I making? I'm making a legacy now difference. Where now the kids straight away, as soon as she's like, oh, my daughter's about to buy a house. I need them to see you. Of course, because now she wants the daughter to now be enlightened.
Because it's about education at the end of the day.
Bingo. So what am I now doing with the daughter now? The daughter is around education, spot on. Creating the right behaviors. So when we build the wealth, and I think by the time in 20 years...
Because people come when it's way too late.
Yes.
And this is... And that transition, and I saw this as obviously externally, and I think you've started to make it sexy. Yeah. Was that intentional to be like, to make it cool to have conversations around,
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
Yeah. Everything I do is very intentional. There's not a lot of stuff that's not intentional. It is, I did it in a way where I'm like, I want Thriving Wealth to be like, I'm with them and I'm proud to be with them. And if you're not with them, you're an idiot. Before I came in here, I literally got off a phone call. Business partner of a client that we saw yesterday calls me and he's like, bro, whatever you did for my business partner, I don't care. Just copy it for me. I'm like, no, that's not how it works. I said, he's just like,
I wish though.
Yeah, he's just like, he's just like, just send it to me, sign, like right now, do what you did, because his business partner literally got out of the meeting and just went like, mate, like whatever you've heard about any other finance dude, just like throw it out the window. These guys are legit and go with them straight away. And even in the conversation that we were having, he was like to me, he's like, I'm looking to buy another home. Listen to this one. He's like, he's had 2 kids and then he's had triplets. So he's gone from 2 to 5. Yeah. No, she's having a heart attack as we speak.
That raises questions about having the third always, right? Because you always think about having twins, let alone triplets. But
so he's gone to then 5. Yeah. And he's like, John, I just need someone. I've got the business. We're making good income. How do we make that obviously work? I understand what's going on, but we need a bigger house. Like we're in a small home and we need.
Do you ever, brother?
Yeah. It's like, we need a bigger home. And he's just like, I want this, I want this, I want that. I'm like, whoa. Like, just calm down. And so I went through like my understanding of what he really wants. And I call this like, you've got surface level, then you've got like emotional level, then you've got like core level. By the end of a 10-minute conversation, Nath, we're down to the thing like, bro, this is the way he talks. Like, bro, if you can make that happen, like I will love you forever. That is where we've got it, to the point where these people are crying in conversations. Like, it is rare for me not to make the other person emotional now, because I'm getting to what people truly want in life. And how many times do you have a conversation with someone around how much you truly want in life, and then that team makes it happen?
See, what I find interesting, right? Mm-hmm. I get how you can do that, right? Salesperson, it's ingrained in you when you've obviously understood what your clients want, and you've really understood how to ask the right questions to uncover that, right? How have you actually been able to scale, come off the tools without being the one that has all of those conversations? Because you can't scale and grow it that way.
So that is the hardest piece. It is. What you got to do is, in your process, you've got to build that a part of the process. Then you've got to hire the people who have the same values as what I do. See, my thing comes from, if you listen to our early conversation, it's actually not to make money. And I know people are like, oh, John, this other guy, nah. You do the right thing, money will come.
Absolutely.
You do the right thing, money will come. And I've done the right thing for so many people after year after year after year. More people want the right thing after them, want the right thing. So I need to hire people who want to do the right thing first. However, my apprenticeship to become a wealth advisor, the minimum is 1 year supervision in the industry. Mine's like 7 years. Because you are a crossover between a financial advisor, a behavioral coach, a life coach, a wealth coach, part-time kind of psychologist of money. Like there's so many different facets for what we do. So the best case scenario is JK and Anthony, who are my minor business partners, which talk about another thing around succession planning. But they've been with me for 6 years. And if you have to tell me where they're at in regards to their execution, they handle the clients, they can coach them to get to that core level in 15 minutes. No, they're not there yet. They're not there yet, but it'll come. It'll take time. It's about being patient. I'm in the long game, 35 years old now. I've done 21 years in the industry. Hopefully I've got another 21 to go. Pretty exciting.
Yeah.
I've got 3 boys now who are all rocking Thriving Wealth tops.
Yeah, they're hosting podcasts
they're
already.
hosting podcasts already. All right, one's learning CapCut and captions and all that apps. So, it's the playing the long game, hiring the right people, and then being very, very patient. The latest employer that came to me said, like, John, I do get emotional lately, I notice. I don't know if it's having kids or whatever it is, Nate, but like she came to me and she's like, John, your culture is like second to none, and I'm so privileged to work with you. I'm just like, thank you. Like, I'm a normal guy in a normal business. And she's like, no, you care. Like, you actually care. And I understand why people will go through brick walls for you, because you'll go through brick walls for them. And so you got to have the process. You've got to have the people. You got to back your people. You got to invest in the people. And then, mate, it pays dividends.
You were, one of the, like, it wasn't sexy for a financial advice firm to be down to earth and rocking T-shirts and being on social media and just giving information, like showing case studies of what people do behind the scenes. How important do you think that has been to the growth of your business as well?
Well, I had someone the other day said I was really unprofessional, and that's the reason why they went with me. And I'm like, did you not see all the marketing and all the material? Like, I wasn't going to come in an Armani suit, I can tell you that right now.
Yeah.
The thing is, man, I wanted to build a business where I can come from this podcast and sit in a table outside and start giving financial advice. Like, I didn't need to, go from Clark Kent to Superman. Like, I just felt like it was very fake for me to be someone I wasn't. So for me to actually...
But you would have started in a suit and tie, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Full suit and tie, leader to look at it, mate, hair done properly. Like, I think my wife told me, you better look all right. You're going on Nate's podcast. Yeah, cash talk gets
it's a big deal.
Cash talk gets a bit rough. Yeah. But like, I main days, man, I'm in PJ pants and I've got a teddy blanket on and I'm like sitting on a t-shirt, like, and having meetings, and my clients love that. Like, they love, like, it's just a no bullshit kind of. And finance is a lot of smokes and mirrors. Like, the biggest apprehension that people have when it comes to money is like, this guy's going to take a ride for me. He's going to take a ride of my situation because I'm vulnerable. I don't understand this stuff. And he's going to show me the glitz and glam. And it's got that real estate vibe to it, where it's like the person in the beam is rocking up and like, but like, I'm very open in my conversations. I tell people, I'm like, this is my journey. This is how I've created wealth. And people are like, oh my gosh, it's been like, mate, straight up, like, once I get to know you, come over for dinner. Like, that's the community that we've got, and that's what I wanted to build. I wanted to build that I wake up every morning being myself and feeling like I'm going and making change every day. And to the point, Nath, when I openly share to people, like, I am very, very fortunate that I'm in a position where I never need to work again. However, I go to work every single day because I love what I do. And isn't that an epic business to have? That you love changing people's lives and you get paid for it. Like,
it's crazy. And it's funny that you say that. I think the moment that when you got no idea when you first start. right? And the reality is people expect to, you hear the fairy tales, right? You see these businesses grow and scale to 100 staff in a year or two. The reality is that
is a
one in a million,
yeah.
1 in a million, right? The reality is you learn from being in business, and at the end of the day, it takes time, right? Because so many of your clients have referred. I mean, I'm guessing 90+% of clients have come from referrals, right?
Mate, we're even toying with the idea, Nathan. I'm open in sharing this. We're at the point now where we may do like invite only. Like as in like you need to get in by knowing either a client to actually get into the community. Because we want to impactfully change so many people, but the people we have promised to change, that is legacy. That's Nath, your kids, your grandkids, your auntie, your uncle, your sister, your brother. Like it just gets like, so I don't like that because I have also the passion of helping so many people. So this is where the podcast and the socials obviously help. But yeah, that's where we're at, Nath.
How many staff do you have right now?
Yeah. 18.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you've gone from,
I went from 5 down to 0. Yeah. Then like back up to 18.
Yeah. Wow. What do we expect to see? What do you think the next 5 years looks like?
That's a good question. I
think there was a strategic name change from AFA to Thriving Wealth, right? So something's coming.
Yeah, something's brewing. Now there's a lot going on in regards to the education space. We want to be the leaders in regards to the education to families at a behavioral level. A lot of people do education at this is what an ETF is. This is what we want to actually make some serious change, thing. And it's probably, Nate, the reason.
We're talking with schools and teaching those savings behaviors
and all that stuff. As in, there's a lot of things that I can do to make money. I could create an online ebook and then charge people $99 or whatever and that's what marketing's about. It's about having these things, and there's a reason why I haven't done it. It's because I want to be there actually, I believe, impactfully changing people to the point where I come up with ideas and my team's like, no, you're not impactfully changing by just giving them that. So everything we deliver has to have an impactful change for the person. So that's number one. Number two is around how we can get further down the scale of surface emotional core. To do that, it may be bringing in-house psychologists and neuroscientists to actually start changing the behaviors of our clients. And that is unheard of in what we do.
That's pretty next level.
So creating a new, I'm not going to call it industry, but new offering that has no competitors.
I'm very excited to see how it unfolds.
So just got to pull that off. It's a lot of moving parts, but
yeah,
but that's the next 5 years.
Some random questions, right? And I'm going to pull.
Don't ask me what underwear I got. I got none on.
We're going to find out. I'll find out for sure once we jump off. But I mean, what can people? A lot of people that are listening to this podcast are, 25, 30, looking at starting their own business or trying to make that jump, that leap. And I think a lot of it is because of looking at people that are in business and assuming that it's you're going to make a lot of money, right? I come obviously from a financial planning background. That's what I studied. What do you see in young people these days in that sort of age demographic? What do they get wrong? What do they not understand about money? And what, not advice, right? But what sort of pointers can you give to people to get it right from now?
So 2 things I'll say to that. First and foremost, we focus on the age group between 30 to 45, I'm going to say. So we see people in the middle of this bracket that we're about to talk about. A lot of people who work in our space work with much older people. We try to get them young because if we can create the right habits, right behaviors, create the right systems, they absolutely smash it. So what I see that they do wrong. One, too much information. So they have information overload in 2024. Social media, Instagram, TikTok, pick your vice, yeah? Then they go to their work environment. They speak to a friend who's got this hot stock that they should jump on. So they're consuming all of this information, is then causing two sub-problems for these people in this group. Number one, analysis paralysis, so much information they do nothing. Or number two, confirmation bias. This is where they're searching on the internet and they realize, like, only 10 years later, they realize, oh shit, it was my brain playing tricks on me. I should have never made that decision. That's number one. Number two, they have no clear strategy, these people. So they're making financial decisions with not knowing what the impact is in 10 years. So, and I'll put this in a practical sense so everyone can understand. So when a person goes to buy a house, which is usually their first big investment, they think about it like, this is the deposit we need to save. This is the house. This is what the mortgage repayment's going to be. And then they go off and buy the house. They are so super focused on, if you were driving around and there's a roundabout, just how to turn left, that they haven't even thought about the destination they're trying to get to. What you have to do when it comes to wealth creation is look at the next 10 to 15 years and figure out what decision you're going to make today is going to impact you in 10 to 15 years. So you're going to need to take into consideration, are you going to have children? Are you going to, are you going to go down to one income? Yeah. What's going to happen? What kind of buffers do you have in play? To reach my then 25-year goal, is the 1.2 million going to be too much? Because then what kind of income do I need to have? And when do I need to return? But super complex. Mm-hmm. I try to explain it. It's like most people are running a Mailways when we're running like a Google Maps with like radar systems, trying to get to where we need to get to. Totally different scenario. You're going to get there with the GPS and the radar systems safely as well. Third one is people underestimate how much time you need to put into this to be an absolute ninja at it. So what I mean by that is they read a couple of books, they might check online, they might speak to a couple of mates, throw a couple of ETFs, do this and that, and then go, yeah, well, I'm done, mate. I am smooth sailing. Cool. I have literally spent 40 minutes nearly of this podcast talking about you're not changing your behavior, you're not changing your habits. How many people you reckon that are 25, 20, let's say they started their work life when they're 18, they're earning triple the amount they were when they were 18, if not 4 times, but yet they have less money to show for it.
Almost all of them, right?
All of them, yeah. And then they get by, they earn more, and they have less to show for it. Why? Because you've got the worst behaviors. I want you to, for people that are listening to this, think about how many people bought a house for, say, $1 million. 10 years later, their mortgage is 1.2 million. Has your mortgage going up to 1.2? Oh, well, we renovated, then we went to Europe, then we done this, then we done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it a generational thing though? Because like back in the day, it was like, you paid off your mortgage, you paid it off quicker, you made twice the repayments.
Mm-hmm. So we're getting dumber. Is that what you're saying?
I just think the fact that, like we're saying, information is so accessible. Do you know what I mean? Like people want to, show that.
Bingo. So it's behavioral problems. So this is the thing. It's not to say that you can't have stuff, but what 25 to 35-year-olds, 45 to 55-year-olds, every age group has, is they haven't looked inside. What makes you fulfilled? What makes you happy? It's playing with your kids, yeah? I'll get you the best watch you can, mate. That'll wear off, yeah? Get the best car, like this Porsche around here. I love Porsches, yeah? I always had. Tell my wife, she's like, why don't you go get a 911? You've always wanted one, blah, blah. I'll buy one, I'll probably have it for 2 weeks and get rid of it. Because it doesn't truly make me happy. It's more for reaching a goal that I'll buy it, not for anything else. It does not make me properly fulfilled. And with the marketing engine in 2024 trying to take everyone's money away, and how easy it is on Amazon and all of these websites that just go boom and get your money away from how many people death scroll and then buy something. This group, more than ever, don't focus on the behaviors and what makes them truly happy. This client yesterday, who was 3.7 mil at the age of 51, they had some of the best behaviors from an actual fulfillment perspective. They understood what makes them truly happy. Where they lacked was the knowledge. So 25 to 35, they usually have really good knowledge, but they have so much behavioral problems that they don't understand and can't. With behavioral problems is worse because you might be a know-it-all but have the wrong behaviors, and then your wealth is just decimating. That's why we focus on it so much, because you can have the best share strategy or the best property strategy. You have the worst behaviors, gone.
Yeah.
Gone. And guess what? You know, those beautiful, lovely children, they're learning your poor behaviors from you. And when you go to them past that wealth, you've worked your ass off, you're sitting there, you're on your deathbed when you're 80, and then you have 3 kids that don't know how to behave properly when it comes to wealth creation and fulfillment of life. They just grab all the money and burn it all. Yeah. And if you think I'm lying, go have a look at the research and the stats. Yeah,
I bet. And it's, my wife and I, and there aren't too many resources out there, but, there are some savings apps and stuff like that to get them into the right habits of, You know
what the biggest one is, Nath? What you and your missus do.
Absolutely.
How you walk and talk. Your kids want to be exactly like you. They want to role model you, mate. My little boy on Cash Talk, I do Cash Talk, he jumps on the chair and tries to do hey, we're on Cash Talk, exactly the same.
Yeah.
Do you get me? The way he holds his arms is exactly the same as the way I hold. They want to be us. So why wouldn't it, with the behaviors that you are with your spending and your investing and it's exactly the same. Yeah. And they're actually going to be in a worse scenario, our kids. We're in bad enough. They're going to be even worse if you don't do this. So I do say this to the younger generation, though, the ones who do it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. The competition is slim.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah? So I'm excited about the ones we can help, but I'm also sad about the ones we can't. And I've had to get over that because it has held me back a lot, because I do feel for people that don't take the leap.
I love it. Now tell people, where can they go if this obviously conversation has been of interest to them. Obviously, we've got the podcast Cash Talk, Thriving Wealth.
Yeah, just go into Thriving Wealth. Hopefully the marketing team's done enough. Just type into Thriving Wealth on Google.
It's not too hard to find. It'll find once you type it in, it'll find you.
Yeah, it'll find you. The algorithms after. No, just type in Thriving Wealth. Usually Instagram's our main social media outlet for most people, but LinkedIn as well too, and obviously our website as well too. But the main thing is, I think, if you want to take the journey in regards to both business, and I think the biggest tip that I give to people in business and through my story is what my grandmother told me, who was not in business. We're born naked, we die naked, everything in between is just fun and games. Okay? So if you can get life down to that, which is we're on this earth for a very small period of time, and let's have fun. When you're on your deathbed looking back at your life, you want to have an epic one.
Yeah.
It's not based on the zeros and the amount of things you've got or you've accumulated. It's the life and the fulfillment. So for me to only make my life happen, I had to go into business.
I love it, man. Love the passion. And thanks so much for coming on. I love that.
That's right, man.
Thanks heaps.
Thanks for having me.
Cheers. Thanks for listening to The Leap. If you enjoyed this episode, give us a follow, or even better, share it with someone who you think will get value out of it. Big thanks to our main sponsor, Ethos 360 Recruitment. It's actually just us sponsoring ourselves. We got the remedy. College of Giants. Selling the streets.